Hello, St. Anne Parish, and welcome to this week's Quick Things. Finally, after a few weeks without a conversation, not just me babbling on and on, I'm with Father Joe Richards, who is, as we're recording this, he is still one of our newest priests. But by the time you watch this, while I'm on retreat, there will be new priests. So he will be an old timer within a few days, for better or worse. Probably better, huh? Just a few announcements before we get into that conversation. You know, this weekend is the 4th of July, so maybe lots of conflicting demands and things, but what better way to celebrate our freedom, to celebrate our independence and our freedom than to take advantage of our freedom of religion and to come to worship at our usual times this weekend. So please, I would hope try to make that a priority and part of our 4th of July celebration. Then this coming or week from now, we have another round of informational meetings regarding our plan for reimagining and renovating the interior of our church. And so the times and days are with this email, but just to mention them, noon on Wednesday, July 7th and 5 p.m. on Wednesday, July 7th. And then at 6:30 on Thursday, July 8th. And there'll be some opportunities the following week, including an opportunity to participate on Zoom if you do not feel comfortable joining us in person or just doesn't work in terms of the timing. Then also reminders of Vacation Bible School coming up in July. Further information with this email and at the website, and the middle school NCIS Neighborhood Catholics in Service coming up in August. Please be attentive to that, and the ongoing call for teens and adults to help with those programs. So there's information with this email and at the website regarding that as well. So Father Joe Richards, welcome to Wausau after 12 months, basically.
11 months. Thank you.
11 months, yeah. So Father Joe was ordained you were ordained in June. I stumble a bit because of COVID. We weren't all able to be there. It was a limited participation, correct?
Yeah, that's right. June 27th. So when does this video come out?
Wednesday.
Okay, right. So yeah,
your anniversary is Sunday, June 27th.
Sunday, June 27th is
happy anniversary.
Thanks. We're there. made it through 1 year. It was a different first year than I expected.
It was a difficult first year or a different first year?
Well, it was difficult. Difficult. It was different than 3 years ago. It was different than what I expected my first year as a priest would be. But
well, it was a different year of priesthood for all of us too. But yeah, we've those of us who have been with this for a while really thought this has got to be just impossible for you guys just starting out in this kind of situation.
Yeah, well, it was actually. So we have a priest group. Some priests do something of like a priest fraternity or support group, whatever you call it. We have one with all the guys in my class. So that's Father Sam McCarty, Father Daniel Williams, Father Levi Schmidt, and the two guys from the year before, Father Brandon Gunther and Father Ethan Hokamp. So the six of us would get together during peak times. It would be like over Zoom and whatnot. But as much as possible, we would get together on a monthly basis. And just host each other at rectories, cook dinner and stuff like that, and have time to kind of talk about what was going well and what was rough. So it was a tough year to get started, but that was huge to be able to go through it and have the same experience. We're a lot closer now than we.
I bet.
Every year, so that's a blessing. COVID blessing.
Yeah, well, and there have been some of them, actually.
Right.
And we'll discover probably more of them as we go along. Father Joe is the chaplain at Newman Catholic Middle School and Newman Catholic High School, as well as the associate pastor at Resurrection and St. Michael parishes. So he has a kind of a connection with our parish through certainly his work at Newman School. So part of my reason for wanting to introduce him to our parish. And also, he's a priest of our diocese. So someday, who knows, Father Joe, you might be pastor here at St. Anne's.
Nice.
And then people can say, I knew him when, because I remember that video that Father
I knew him
Tom.
when he was a kid. He was just a baby priest. Yep.
Let's talk, before we get to, we'll talk more about this past year, but maybe just give us an idea of who you are, the story that led to your being ordained last June 27th.
So when I was in seminary from 2015 to 2020, before I got ordained, that was actually my second time in seminary. So I went in right after high school, right? My family's from California originally. We moved out here. I'm in La Crosse visiting my folks right now. We moved just south of La Crosse in 2000, and then kind of got involved around in the church around La Crosse. I was a parishioner at the cathedral, and right after high school, ended up going to seminary for 2 years, almost 2 full years, before I left. I mean, I got halfway through that second year, and God gave me some pretty clear signs in prayer that like there's something off here, right? It wasn't a big booming voice saying leave seminary, but it was enough stuff that with my spiritual director, I was kind of able to tell I'm not supposed to be in seminary right now, which at the time I took to be I'm not supposed to be in seminary or become a priest ever. I'm going to go get married and have 15 kids, So,
15, good for you.
God bless my wife. There's a reason I didn't get married. Right. So anyway, yeah, it's, I left halfway through college and finished up at St. Mary's in Winona. And right after college, I did 3 years as a missionary, which was maybe the most formative part of my life that led me to seminary, right? So I worked with Focus. If you're familiar, Fellowship of Catholic University Students, they're amazing. Meet a missionary. They're good people, and not just because I was one of them, but it's college missionary work, right? So I was assigned to Duluth, University of Minnesota Duluth, from 2012 to 2015. So we would go on campus for 1 year at a time. Again, I was there for 3 Bible studies, mentor students. Really, our biggest thing was we want to introduce college students to a relationship with Jesus Christ. So that was huge. So here I was during kind of a formative time when I was asking the question, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Again, that kind of looked like, who do you want me to marry? And that was my life during a very formative period, was also being on campus and very actively working to promote the gospel and introduce to Jesus Christ. That combined with the teams I worked with, teams of 4 missionaries at a time, the chaplain, the priest I was working with, good, holy man, and really good priest, kind of guy that you look at. It's like there's something really attractive about your priesthood. Like you're successful in your ministry. You are personally very built up and fulfilled by it. It was enough going on, enough factors that kind of made me think, shoot, maybe this is what God wants me to do. And then as soon as I kind of let that thought in, it was just boom. All right, wheels started rolling. And a few years later, I found myself talking to Father Al Wiersba to study for the Diocese of La Crosse. And 5 years after that, here I am. 6 years after that, here I am.
Well, and I guess how wonderful that you were attentive to the Spirit to know that you needed to take that break, because you have to think that you're a better priest because of what happened in between, right?
Yeah, I would have been ordained in 2016, and I would have been horrible. Right, it was entirely God's providence working through that. I mean, was it 5 years earlier that I could have been a priest? Yeah, sure, but I don't think I would have the same heart that I do by any means. Not that that's perfect, but yeah.
And just so many other things too, the experiences that you had and the wisdom that you acquired in terms of through your ministry and
Yeah. And I got to spend 3 years in Duluth, which is the most, I mean, it's San Francisco of the Midwest, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, everybody who spends time in Duluth loves Duluth. I haven't done that. I've only been there once, but that's what everybody said.
we'll go canoeing or something.
And a great place to be able to get away to when you want to take a break or whatever too, because you know it now, right?
Right. Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Not too far. So yeah.
So you were ordained a year ago, June 27th, and you were assigned to the schools and parishes in Wausau. You probably didn't. Had you ever been to Wausau?
So yeah, Father Sam McCarty's family is actually in Parish St. Michael's. So I had been to visit his family a few times. That's it. That's it. Like the first time that I spent more than one night sleeping over was after I moved into the rectory over at St. Michael's. So no, I really hadn't. Yeah, a little visit.
So let's process the year a little bit. Not getting, and I wanted to get. Now, if I ask a question that's too invasive, of course you'll just avoid it. So
I work with pastors. You're okay.
What has surprised you in a positive way most in your first year as a priest?
The students are incredibly resilient. That's been it, right? Looking, I mean, the school year, my working hours during the school year my working hours are for the most part over at the middle school, high school building. So that's kind of the biggest part. And Father Mark frees me up a lot to be able to do that, which is a blessing. When we were looking at a year ahead of time, and I was kind of starting to recognize how much we were going to ask these 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds to do to make it just so we could survive the school year.
Yeah.
Man, if I were asked to do this when I were in high school, no chance, right? I would break. It's been amazing to watch the students. Just we don't know what things are going to look like in the future as far as processing all this goes for them, but to see their resilience and actually showing up and making themselves present. It was a tough year for all of them, and there were challenges that came with that, but just to see them actually walking through the year and still, especially some of them that really showed up in a major way, to open themselves to the Holy Spirit in very tangible ways. It was, my goodness.
Cool.
Yeah. It was hopeful.
What would you, and so that was obviously probably one of the most challenging parts of the first year as well.
Yeah.
What was the most surprise? What's been a surprise in your first year as a priest?
My first year as a priest.
That's been a surprise.
Just the whole thing.
That you are a priest.
Yeah, no, oh my goodness. That's a hard question.
Well, I think we go into this with expectations and then, wow, that's not quite how it is. And that happens in lots of walks of life. I think that happens with a lot of married couples,
Yeah, Father Tom, I mean, we talk COVID blessings, right? Maybe that's part of it. Is St. Patrick's Day 2020, we got the boot from the seminary. They told us go back to your diocese. So Father Sam and I packed up our bags over a weekend and came back. And I moved into St. Patrick's. He moved into St. Mary's, both in La Crosse on Alaska. And there was something kind of nice about that, because we had 3 months, I can do math, in the diocese to get ready for ordination.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that was also just kind of coming to terms with how different everything was from what we had expected. So honestly, there wasn't too much during the year that caught me off guard, or that that really shocked me. There wasn't too much like that, but I chalk that up to having 3 months in the diocese to kind of get ready for ordination beforehand, So
were you not doing seminary classes online?
We were doing them online, but does that count? Yeah.
Are you suggesting that classes on Zoom are not as effective as classes in person?
Not for a 30-year-old who's used to taking them in person all his life.
But so are 16-year-olds, actually. But yeah, I know. Or 8-year-olds.
Right. We really, I mean, we tried to make it work, but that was difficult. it was not as effective. But again, you know, best case scenario for what was in front of us, what we could do. So we worked with it. But yeah, just having that time for spiritual preparation was huge. It kind of, yeah, again, it kept me from being
I think what you're saying about the you know, when you were talking earlier about the high school students, middle school students, and their flexibility and the kind of the grace of just making it happen. You know, wasn't that true in our parishes as well? You know, we didn't know what we were doing, but the people kind of went along with recognizing that in terms of cooperation and flexibility and patience.
Right.
And, I think you kind of forget that in the moment because you're in the moment. But looking back, that was really an important part of things, I think, for us in our parish.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's cool for someone like me too, because everyone loves the associate pastor, right? Everybody loves the new priest
because he doesn't have to make any hard decisions.
Exactly. Right. So I get to do all the fun stuff, and Father Mark is the person that you know, we gotta communicate something hard. Father Mark has a message for you in the bulletin. Why don't you look at that? Meanwhile, let's talk about something happy here, you know. So it's great. It's great, you know. But it's over the last month, 2 months maybe, we've started to see more of our regulars showing up at Eastside, St. Michael's and Resurrection, huh? Now they're not regulars to me. They're brand new. But it's very peculiar because I'm also coming into the second year now where Father Mark is kind of giving me some more tough stuff to deliver too. So you know, it's a new thing, but it's kind of cool too. I feel more like their priest.
That's an interesting observation. As you come into the second year, you've taken off your mask. People are returning who aren't wearing their masks. Right. It really is like a new beginning, isn't it?
Right. It is.
I mean, for you personally, as well as for the parish.
Yeah, but I'm also not a brand new priest anymore. So it's almost like starting a second assignment, you know, as if somewhere else. Now, praise God that I'm still at St. Michael's and Resurrection. I love it there, and I love Wausau. But yeah, there's an element of new start when, you know, all of a sudden here we go. You know, I can see people's response to my homilies. Yeah.
Well, hasn't that been something, preaching to masked people?
Weird. Yeah.
But we did it, you know? So how do you think, what's the second, at Newman, what's the second year? Obviously you'll have more interaction with students because you'll be able to see them and talk to them up close and personal. What are some other things that you want to try to do this second year at Newman that you maybe didn't get to or wasn't possible the first year?
Yeah, really good question. I mean, a lot of it this year is also going to have to do with just figuring out what everything looks like at the school, right? Staff turnover, even looking at that, new principal, new teachers every year and whatnot, students. So it's gonna be a brand new year, as well as just figuring out kind of what normal looks like again at the school. So there's still going to be a big part of this learning experience. One of the regrets that I had from the second semester last year, something I did during the first semester that worked out. Do we talk about it in like semesters here, or is it just like first half of the year, second half?
I talk about semesters. I say semester because I was in campus ministry for 22 years. We had semesters, so I think in semesters.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, after school and focus and everything, same thing. It's semesters for me. So first half of the year, I was able to get into classes a lot more, and you know, even just visit religion classes every week or two, which was good. FaceTime with the students, you know. I mean, that was huge, just for them to be able to get to know me, and for me to be able to get to know them. But I think that familiarity with the priest is really big. Now, just circumstances, the way things shaped out, busier with some of the campus ministry events and whatnot. It meant that second semester that almost dropped off entirely, and that's maybe one of, you know, if I were to name a regret from last year, it would be that. That's something I want to do more, is spend more time just kind of, with the students one-on-one. That's one thing. The second thing, I finally got down like all the students' names in May, right? Which again, that was really weird. So, it's like, here I am studying the yearbook, trying to remember these students' names, and then I see them, and I have to wait for 7 seconds. What's the bottom half of your face look like?
Yeah.
Ashley. Hello, Ashley. It's like after 7 seconds, she's like, Father's weird. Yes, he is. I know. So even something
They would
like
probably think that anyway, Joe. I don't know.
Right.
This
Yeah,
is how
they
kids
would.
are.
Yeah. So anyway, knowing the students, even something as simple as calling them by name. My hope, honestly, next year is just to be able to be in person with the students a lot more, and give them a chance, not to get to know Father Joe, who's anything special, but just to know a priest, especially a young priest,
Right.
so they have an example of, here's another guy who's doing this.
And that's a big part of what, as a pastor, that's what I hope you would provide, that the presence that you would bring to the middle school and high school. So,
Right.
That's good news to me. Hey, I don't want to keep you too much. You're visiting your parents and want to have some fun in La Crosse. But so it's summertime. What does Father Joe do to enjoy summer?
Outdoors. It's all about the outdoors. Yeah. No, I'm getting up to the Boundary Waters in August. I was mentioning right before we got on that Father Sam McCarty and I just went in on a canoe together. So last few days of vacation time down in La Crosse, I've been down in my old man's wood shop working on some canoe paddles, getting ready for that. So it's that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Outdoors. I'll be getting out the Boundary Waters for a while. That type of thing. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, good. I hope you have lots of those opportunities, because as when school starts, there isn't a lot of time if any of those things. So I hope you have a good summer. As people are watching this video, I am on retreat at St. John's Abbey in Collegeville, Minnesota. And so our concluding prayer, any final words, Father Joe?
No.
All right, wrap up. So our concluding prayer it's inspired by the rule of St. Benedict, which governs the life of Benedictine women and men in their communities. Let us open our eyes to the light that comes from God, and our ears to the voice from heaven that every day calls out this charge. If you hear his voice today, do not harden your hearts. Father Joe, thank you for being attentive to that voice over the last how many years that took you out of seminary and back in and brought you to us. And I trust you will continue to be attentive to that voice in your ministry among us and what comes beyond us. So enjoy your summer. Thank you for being with us, talking with me. And everyone, have a good holiday, and I hope you'll celebrate freedom by joining us for Mass. St. Anne, pray for us.
Pray for us.